In this video we're going to see just how much effort the developers put into the weapons of Skyblivion, so let's see how they look and what makes them special. I also want to thank you for the amazing support, especially on my first video about fire replaced armor, and now let's dive into the video and enjoy watching. Let's start with the iron weapons. The iron dagger hasn't changed much overall, except for this one detail. In the original version, the blade had this shape. In the new version, the developers kept the shape but removed the notch in the blade. It also a bit wider and less even, giving it a slightly chaotic appearance, like it was forget quickly. The same with the iron short sword. However, the iron long sword has a few minor differences. The notch is gone, but the sharp prominence on the blade remains, and the pommel is now more elongated. As for the iron mace, the ornament at the top is gone and sharp spike has been added, which wasn't in the original version. There are also now an iron keep near the handle. The iron axe now has a spike on the back. The warhammer has also been updated. The laser rubs on the handle are in more realistic position. There is an iron cap at the bottom and spike on top, securing the head of the hammer with an additional piece below to hold it in place. The iron claymore in Skyblivion still has the sharp elements from the original, but overall the sword looks more battle ready to me. The two-handed iron axe's shape has slightly changed and the ornamentation is less pronounced. Like with the warhammer, the laser rubs are in better spots for handling. An iron cap has been added along with the same securing piece we saw on the hammer. The bow hasn't changed much except for the addition of iron reinforcements near the string attachment points. Now let's talk about steel weapons. The steel dagger and all steel weapons in Skyblivion for that matter now have a shape that is similar to a stina. They are sleeker with a wide blade near the hilt narrowing sharply at the tip. Overall there aren't many changes except for a more realistic look. However, there is one detail, an engraved mark near the guard. The same goes for the short sword. The steel sword has a few small changes. The guard is longer and the mark that was near it is gone. In the original claymore, the guard had a twisted design, but in Skyblivion it's now the same as a regular sword, short sword and a dagger. As for the war axe, there are some changes. A sharp spike has been added, the twisted element along the war axe is gone, and the developers added a sharp piece on the back. The mace has undergone similar change to the war axe. The twisted handle is gone, replaced by a regular steel one. The steel warhammer in Skyblivion has lost its round shape, twisted handle and engravings. Instead, it now has a more realistic look with two sharp ends on top and a more squared off striking surface. As for the great axe, it now looks more imposing, like something you'd want to grab and take out a few goblin traps with. The blade has notch, suggesting it's seen some battles. There are also sharp elements on the top and sides. As for the bow, the steel handle is gone, replaced by a handle similar to the ones on swords, though it still has steel inserts that make the bow look more stable. Speaking of arrows, the quiver's base is now steel with laser sights. The quiver has a new shape and holes for a string that have been added are also small but important details. As for fine steel weapons, I'll keep it brief since the differences from steel weapons are small. The main distinction is that fine steel weapons are more polished and clean. The fine steel claymore has a rope rub on the hilt, the battle axe has a shorter notch-free blade, and the bow now has a short steel base with a twisted design near the grip, a pattern that was originally on the axis and near the sword guard. The quiver now has an additional steel clamp in the center. Now about silver weapons. This is where things get more interesting. For all silver weapons, the handles are now wrapped in some kind of blue cloth. I'm not sure if it's velvet or something else. The dagger has changed a lot, with the blade barely resembling the original version. It now has visible engravings that are easy to make out. The guard is larger. As in original, it seemed more decorative than protective. The reach on the blade is gone, which honestly annoyed me as a kid because I always thought I'd hit an enemy with it and not do any damage. The pommel is also big and bulky. Speaking of the pommel, pay attention to it. On the dagger, it's wide and solid, but on the claymore, it's thinner and more elongated. In Oblivion, the silver dagger was only different from the short sword it left, but in Skyblivion, the guard is a bit smaller, which I don't quite understand since it's still a sword. I think it would have made more sense to do the opposite, but if any of you know why, please let me know in the comments. I'd really like to learn. The guard may be smaller, but it's thicker, and the engraving now covers in completely along with that reach I'm not a fan of. On the long sword, the engraving pattern has changed and the pommel is more elongated, just as I mentioned. The guard is also larger. Now let's take a look at the silver claymore. There is no reach and the engraving pattern is on the blade itself, just like on the dagger with the sharp bumps similar to those in the iron weapon set, though there are more of them. In the original, these protrusions were a part of the reach on the blade. The guard now has rounded ends and the pommel is longer, with the petals from the original version gone. The wax now has less chaotic engravings compared to the original and the pommel is shaped like a drop. Everything else is pretty much the same as in Oblivion, and the same goes for the silver battle axe and silver mace. There aren't any differences other than what I've already mentioned. But the bow is a different story. It somewhat reminds me of Auriel's bow from Skyrim in its shape. There are just something about it. As for the differences from the silver bow in Oblivion, near the handle there is thin section followed by some fancy elements. In general, my opinion is that the weapons we have reviewed in this video are well made and most importantly they don't break the atmosphere of Oblivion, which is crucial. Thank you for watching and I suggest you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel because further there will be more and more unique and interesting content. I'm Man, see you in the next videos and right, bye.